Turn your living room into a joyful, hands-free playroom with CoComelon Sing and Play with JJ. Your child sings, moves, and learns right alongside JJ and friends, all on the big screen. It's designed thoughtfully to spark speech, rhythm, and coordination through songs and active play. Try an ad-free, safe, and interactive way to make screen time part of their learning and growth. Parents love how easy it is, voice-controlled and frustration-free. Kids love every moment of singing, laughing, and playing along. It's fun for them, and it's feel-good for you. Available now in the Volley app on your smart TV. Just search Volley in your TV's app store and start your free trial of CoComelon Sing and Play with JJ today. That's CoComelon Sing and Play with JJ, available now in the Volley app on your smart TV. Search Volley and start your free trial today.
Volley.
Hey there, I'm Cindy Renna, and this is episode 2, Why Homeschool and Why Charlotte Mason. Your child will go to school for at least 13 years of his life. He will be being educated for roughly 35 hours a week. That's almost a full-time job. This topic of education is hands down one of the most critical decisions you will make for your child, and it certainly shouldn't be taken lightly. His time, wherever it is spent, as well as the people he is with, will absolutely shape the person he becomes. When making this choice, at no point should you consider what you think others expect or what seems normal. Yes, I'm going to talk about homeschool today, but I want to be upfront with you that we've done a variety of things with our kids' education. We've done the public school thing for a couple of years. We've done the private school thing, and we always came back to homeschool. That being said, I have found that in certain stages of our life, homeschool was not an option, just like it might not be an option for you right now. This post is not about judging other parents, and it's certainly not about criticizing choices that only you and your spouse can make. But I do want to shed some light on the benefits of homeschool when you have an outside-the-box child. So how do you choose the right education for your outside-the-box child? Well, let's talk about options. In public school, you are entitled to certain rights when your child is in the school system if he has a diagnosis. So we're talking mostly about kids with autism, ADHD, anything that will get you into an IEP meeting. So these rights are surrounded by many acronyms. One of them is LRE. Your child is entitled to go to school in his least restrictive environment. This means that we want his day to look as much like a typical child so far as it is beneficial to him. IEP. This is the individualized education plan that you and a team from your school, the principal, general education teacher, special education teacher, and any relevant therapists are going to put together to help your child function fruitfully in school. Then you've got PT, OT, speech, and probably some other ones that I'm not familiar with. You have the right to receive, if your child qualifies, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech. There's a catch. You only qualify if the struggles that your child has disrupt his school day. For instance, when we were in public school, we struggled a lot with food, and we received feeding therapy from a private occupational therapist. But the school was not going to provide help with this because it didn't directly affect his performance at school. Now, I'm sure based on your district and the people involved, that could vary from state to state. We have had some good therapists come through the school system, but by and large, they can only do so much. You'll be restricted as to how much therapy you are allowed to receive. And although there are resources such as a sensory room and other as-needed supports, and like specialized chairs and leg bands and things like that, your child will not per se be in his most conducive environment to learning consistently throughout the day. Another consideration is depending on what kind of therapy you do, there could be a conflict of interest with the therapies. Okay, now there's the choice of environment. I'm thinking mostly of when our son, who has autism, was in the school system. So this will apply mostly to autistic children. Okay, there's a unit or a typical classroom. You can choose to place your child in an autism unit with other autistic children, or you can place your child in a typical classroom and request the help of an aide. There are many pros and cons to both sides. We have found that although the unit has provided us with some peace of mind, it was very overwhelming for our son. And of course, he picked up some behaviors from other children, as I'm sure some of the others did from him. When we moved him to the typical room with an aide, the environment was still overwhelming for him in different ways, and he really did his best work outside of a classroom environment with the help of his aide. The aide is with your child throughout the day and functions as a bridge, helping your child to be more successful in school. Needless to say, it is critical that you have a good and close relationship with this person. Another option is the combination class, the inclusion class, and that's where you're sort of mixed in typical children and children with special needs. Okay, so those are your public school options so far as I know. You can check Wright's Law, WRIGHTS, and they might have some updated information. Another option for education, of course, is private school. So when we did private school, we were in a preschool setting. Outside of preschool, I'm not really sure all the options you have, but from my understanding, you have some rights based on where you live, but you're limited. Most of your success is going to depend on the relationship with the school and with the teachers you have. Some of the benefits I've heard from other parents are the smaller classrooms and more tight-knit relationships that can work to your benefit. Okay, so now we're going to move on to homeschool. With homeschool, you are able to custom fit your curriculum, your learning style, and the organization of your day. Many of the struggles your child has faced in the school system will be eliminated simply because of his environment. You can work with your child's natural motivations, which is critical. In the beloved book, Autism Breakthrough, Ron Kaufman states, even the best, most dedicated, most talented teachers cannot possibly customize their teaching to every child's individual motivation when they face a room full of students, each of whom has sharply divergent interests. Ron Kaufman is the CEO over at the Autism Treatment Center of America. They do the Sunrise program, which is the therapy that we do. So you're going to hear a lot about Sunrise on this podcast, but not today. Okay, based strictly on your ability to custom fit your child's environment and curriculum, my husband and I do feel that homeschool is the best choice for an outside-the-box child. That says nothing about me as a teacher or of my children as students. If every school was able to provide one-on-one time for each child and custom design the education of each child, they would do it in a second. Even if you have multiple children, your ratio is certainly better than the typical 20-to-1 in schools. All right, I can already hear some of you, but I'm not qualified, you might think. There's about 100 arguments that come to my mind right off the bat against that statement, but I'm going to sum them up all into one. The second your child was conceived, you became the expert. That means that no degree, no amount of time in the field, no therapy certificate will take away the fact that you know your child on a level that nobody else ever will. That child was given to you by God, knowing that you were a perfect match for each other. So, should you take sound advice and educate yourself? Well, absolutely. But don't ever rule out homeschool based on your insecurities. Whatever your choice ends up being with education, one thing remains clear. You are your child's advocate. Your role in his life, whether as a parent only or a parent-teacher, remains the absolute most valuable. Don't ever forget that or feel like somebody else is more qualified to do the job of helping and teaching your child. Okay, so now for those of you who chose homeschool, I'm going to dig a little deeper into your options when it comes specifically to homeschool. So there are 6 main homeschool approaches or styles floating around out there. I'm going to very briefly touch on them just for definition's sake. If you're interested in learning about any of them further, besides the one I'm going to expand on, you're one Google search away from your answers. All right, so the first type of homeschool approach is the traditional one. So this is pretty much school at home. Think textbooks, schedules, tests. In fact, when you tell strangers that you homeschool, this is probably what they are thinking, although in my experience, it is the least popular one among other homeschoolers that I've met. The second option is classical. This is a revival of medieval teaching used to educate some of the greatest minds in history. It is based on the trivium, which works children through 3 stages based on childhood development: grammar, dialectic, and rhetoric. Another option is unschooling. This might be called child-led learning or delight-directed as well. You respond to your child's interests by basing his education, his curriculum, around what he is passionate about. Another option is called unit studies. All of the subjects are taught through a topical or themed study. And then there's Charlotte Mason, which is a literature-based, rich, and vast education on all subjects. And the last is eclectic, which is pretty much a combination of them all. I should tell you that I have dabbled in all of these at some point in our homeschool journey so far. In fact, I'd even say that some subjects are better executed with different styles. For instance, it's pretty standard to learn math from a textbook. But how cool is it to invite a virtual instructor into your home and teach your kids to play the piano via YouTube? Literature, in my humble opinion, is meant to be read aloud and savored, not dissected by multiple choice questions. Here's some other styles that you might hear of that I am less familiar with: Waldorf, Montessori, multiple intelligences, DVD or video schooling, and internet homeschooling. As you can probably guess, there is no one way to homeschool. In essence, all styles can be eclectic. That being said, I like to think of a homeschool approach as having 2 parts: a core philosophy with an adaptable delivery. Pick a philosophy that you can most relate to. Not every little detail will line up, and that's okay. And be prepared to alter things when necessary. If you're lucky, though, and you really find an approach that fits your family, there should be very little adapting to be done. My point is this: don't ever be more devoted to a philosophy or a curriculum than the person you are educating. All right, so what is my pick for the most outside-the-box friendly homeschool approach? Meet Charlotte Mason. As I read through her homeschool education series, my internal dialogue was screaming, yes, exactly. I knew it was a match for us. It was not a match just because we adhere to many of the principles that she teaches, like an emphasis on living books and classic literature, but also because of the many things we are struggling with at home, like instilling good habits. All these things are built into her approach. So what is the Charlotte Mason philosophy? In short, keywords like short lessons, free afternoons, narration, living books, twaddle-free literature, nature study, copy work, and habit cultivating come to mind. I'm going to go into detail with each of these topics that define the Charlotte Mason approach a little later in some of the podcast episodes. And you can also learn more about her philosophy by Googling her Charlotte Mason's 20 principles. But for now, I'm just going to expand on why I think Charlotte Mason is the best approach for an outside-the-box child. So the first reason for that is it's simple. Life as a special needs mom or as a mom with an outside-the-box child is difficult. Life as any parent is difficult at times, but I cannot tell you how much simpler my homeschool got when I found Charlotte Mason. There are a couple of websites out there that really helped me get started. The first is Simply Charlotte Mason, and the other is Ambleside Online. I'd have to say I prefer Simply Charlotte Mason. It fits our family a little bit better, and she's got some great resources on there that we just love. But either website will give you a better feel for what you're getting into. The second reason is it's really affordable. Autism is expensive. So is ADHD. So is dyslexia and everything else we're dealing with. Supplements, special diets, doctor's visits, therapy, the list goes on. The saying goes, if you have a Bible and a library card, you can do Charlotte Mason. That is not far from the truth. The third reason is short lessons. I am seeing the benefit of working in my kids' windows. Instead of trying to stretch them beyond their means, short lessons are perfect. When the kids are young, you start your lessons at 10 to 15 minutes. This helps them work on and develop the habit of attention, and it ensures that you actually are learning something that they are actually learning something when I'm teaching. The fourth is habit training. Character building, social skills, and life skills rank high above academics in our home. Autism is not an irreversible diagnosis. Bottom line, there is no can't, as in my son can't pay attention for very long, or my son can't do household chores, or my son can't do self-care. Combined with the Sunrise Program therapy, which I will talk more about in later episodes, there is no reason that you cannot work on good habits with your outside-the-box child and have unlimited hope for him. Just because it may take longer for him, and I warn you, it will, that doesn't mean it's impossible. And the final reason we love Charlotte Mason is narrating. Fine motor skill challenges are very common with outside-the-box kids. According to Charlotte Mason's philosophy, when your child is writing, he should be practicing the habit of excellence in perfecting his handwriting to his best abilities. She cautions against ever writing sloppy, so narration is the perfect replacement for test taking and written answers. The Charlotte Mason philosophy comes with its own lingo. To assist you with this learning curve, I actually created a quick guide just for you. You can get that by going over to cindyrenna.com and visiting my shop. Get your own copy of the Charlotte Mason cheat sheet. It's your quick guide to common lingo, and it will teach you a lot more about the Charlotte Mason philosophy. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Homeschooling Outside the Box. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.